In the book called to Preside by Theresa Cotter, she asked the question, what is your response to an ordained minister assuming the Orans stance? What is your response to a lay minister assuming the Orans stance? If there is any difference, why? And just to explain, the Orans stance is that sort of posture used when praying. Here is my response. It depends on the ceremony and what the rubrics say for that ceremony. I'm not aware of any rubrics in the liturgical books of the Roman Rite that direct a lay minister to pray with extended hands with palms facing upwards. I have read that it is permitted for the congregation in Italy, but I'm not aware of any other countries where this is permitted. I am aware of rubrics that direct a lay minister to have extended hands over catechumens being prayed for. This is for minor exorcisms and blessings of catechumens by a catechist. For example, in the RCIA, the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults book, which was approved for Australia in 1986, it's got under the minor exorcisms heading, the presiding celebrant for the minor exorcisms is a priest, a deacon, or a qualified catechist appointed by the bishop for this ministry. And it's got in the rubrics there, number 94, as the catechumens bow or kneel, the celebrant, with hands outstretched over them, says one of the following prayers. But without such rubrics, my response would be that the Orans postures shouldn't be used by lay people. And that's following the ceremonial of bishops, and it's got a chapter, General Norms, and then within that a section, Position of the Hands, and then the subheading, Raised and Outstretched Hands. 104. Customarily in the Church, a bishop or presbyter addresses prayers to God while standing, and with hands slightly raised and outstretched. At Mass during the Our Father, I think the instructions are particularly clear. From the general instruction of the Roman Missal, number 237, where it's talking about concelebrants. 237, then the principal celebrant, with hands joined, says the introduction to the Lord's Prayer. Next, with hands extended, he says the Lord's Prayer itself, together with the other concelebrants, who also pray with hands extended, and together with the people. And the ceremonial of bishops, in its chapter on the stational mass of the diocesan bishop, has in number 159. After the doxology of the Eucharistic prayer, the bishop, with hands joined, introduces the Lord's Prayer, which all then sing or say. The bishops and the concelebrants hold their hands outstretched. So if it was intended that the deacon and the instituted acolyte also have their hands outstretched, it would say so. There would be something like the instruction for the sign of the cross at the beginning of the Mass, something saying everyone's to do this gesture. There would be something that would change the general norm about hands joined, again in the ceremonial of bishops, 107. Similarly, concelebrants and ministers keep their hands joined when walking from place to place or when standing, unless they are holding something. Hands joined. So, unless they are holding something. So does this mean it's okay for ministers to hold the hand of the person next to them? Of course not. This was addressed in Notitiae in 1975. Query. In some places there is a current practice whereby those taking part in the Mass replace the giving of the sign of peace at the deacon's invitation by holding hands during the singing of the Lord's Prayer. Is this acceptable? Reply. The prolonged holding of hands is of itself a sign of communion rather than of peace. Further, it is a liturgical gesture introduced spontaneously, but on personal initiative. It is not in the rubrics. Nor is there any clear explanation of why the sign of peace at the invitation, let us offer each other the sign of peace, should be supplanted in order to bring a different gesture with less meaning into another part of the Mass. The sign of peace is filled with meaning, graciousness, and Christian inspiration. Any substitution for it must be repudiated. So that's from Notitia of 1975, page 226, and it can also be found in this book, the Documents in the Liturgy, 1963 to 1979, page 494. I'm pleased that Bishop Roger Foys of Covington in Kentucky addressed the issue in his 2011 decree. He wrote, "Special note should also be made concerning the gesture for the Our Father. Only the priest is given the instruction to extend his hands. Neither the deacon nor the lay faithful are instructed to do this. No gesture is prescribed for the lay faithful in the Roman Missal, nor the general instruction of the Roman Missal. Therefore the extending or holding of hands by the faithful should not be performed." I hope this has been helpful.